Alright there YouTube, I'll post this as a response to Gary's video on the FairEconomics channel. Although, from my own point of view, it's probably naive economics more realistically. Because I don't know much about economics, I'll be frank with you. But this is YouTube, so it's not going to stop me having an opinion, of course. Yeah, but there's a few things really about, what I would regard as a good and happy life really, and how that relates to economics, and what kinds of future I can imagine I could live in that would be that would be sort of sustainable. I mean, there's some things about economics which I have a real problem with. I have a real problem with the idea of creating wealth, for one thing. I've got a book at home called Creating Wealth. I don't even know how it came into my possession. But it's all about, both individually and collectively, the idea that wealth creation is inevitably a good thing. I'm just not convinced it is. I mean, maybe, as I say, it's naive, so I'm probably missing something really crucial. But the translation of resources into accumulated processed objects and services and opportunities, those kind of things. I don't know if that's what constitutes wealth. Then I don't see it as an irreducible value. It just seems to me it's just laden with other kinds of assumptions. So I probably wouldn't. I would just, I guess, like to question the whole idea of wealth creation and what its value is really, because it seems to be all about even in the best sense, even when that wealth is distributed, even when there's some kinds of meritocracy attached to it, or some kind of process in which wealth is shared, or allocated according to need or whatever. It's still about moreness, isn't it, and creating a moreness. And overall, that seems to be a response to a human desire, which is not exactly laudable. I mean, of course, we want to survive, and we want our friends and family and children, and maybe the wider circles of care that we can generate. We want those people to be happy and flourish, and those animals to be happy and all that kind of stuff. But it just feels to me like that when it's taken to as a kind of abstract good, that wealth creation for that purpose oversteps its boundaries really. I mean, certainly in terms of, I'm not saying happiness is necessarily the best measure, but even just to take something like happiness, there's really pretty good evidence to suggest that beyond a certain point, the accumulation of wealth doesn't create happiness. I think the figure is about 150 grand a year, something like that. Up to about 150,000 a year, the measures of happiness and satisfaction with life are pretty much in lockstep with income, but it tapers off very rapidly over 100,000, and past 150,000 a year there's no real correlation. You can just accumulate more stuff, but it doesn't add to the sum total of your happiness. On the other hand, of course, poverty absolutely does increase your level of unhappiness and sadness and depression and suffering. There's no doubt about that. But they're different things really. And also, happiness and wealth are relative, aren't they? I mean, as I say, outside of poverty, beyond the poverty line, the correlation between happiness and wealth are entirely relative. In fact, I think in sociology they have this term relative deprivation, which is the sense of feeling deprived and the psychological and social symptoms of deprivation that appear when deprivation is relative. So if you're earning 50,000 a year and all your neighbours are earning 100,000 a year, you will have all the symptoms of being deprived. You will feel like a deprived individual. You will have low self-esteem. You will feel unworthy, and so on and so on. On the other hand, if you're earning 50,000, the same 50,000, and all your neighbours are earning 20,000, then you will feel that you'll have high esteem, and all those positive values you'll suddenly acquire. So there is a very strong relativistic thing going on there as well. I'm trying to think of the name of that professor. I think it might have been Noam Chomsky, but it might have been somebody else. No, it definitely wasn't Noam Chomsky, actually, thinking about it. It'll occur to me. But he applied for a job at one of the better universities in the States, and he said he didn't mind what his salary was, as long as it was the highest salary in his department. That was his condition Didn't mind when it was, as long as it was the highest in his department. Which on the face of it doesn't show economic sense, but shows a great deal of understanding of human nature, and his own human nature. He knew that he would feel great if he was just earning more than anybody else. It didn't really matter how much it was. So there's those things really. So I guess that's just a question for me about wealth creation and the value of just kind of assuming that the creation of wealth is inevitably a good thing. I mean, personally, and I'm not advocating this for anybody else, personally I'm just thinking, I've been thinking for the last couple of years about the opposite really, not the opposite in the sense of wealth destruction, but the opposite in terms of lifestyle. Because obviously if you're wedded to the idea of wealth creation, and you're wedded to the idea of accumulating possessions and accumulating wealth in order to generate self-esteem and to generate security for yourself and to generate those feelings of a kind of an addiction to happiness, those kind of things, then I'm trying to reverse that really. So I've been looking recently, and as I say, the last couple of years, into kind of low impact lifestyles. Low impact lifestyles are what, just as the name implies, styles of housing, transport, communications, any kind of resource usage that makes very low impact on the environment, on any kind of resource use really. At the moment, it's a bit of a kind of hippie trippy thing really, or it tends to involve straw bale housing and renewable energy sources and catching the bus quite a lot, which is fine. But I'd really like to combine low impact lifestyles with high technology. So I would like, if I was, maybe I will actually, I'd like to start some kind of light organisation, LIHT, low impact high tech. Where at least those of us who are interested in this kind of thing would have low impact lifestyles, relatively modest, sustainable housing, low impact on the environment, but very, very high tech. Completely, all this stuff, silicon based stuff that I'm sitting in front of right now would absolutely be there. But as I say, within a low impact overall lifestyle. Yeah, I mean, that's a future I could kind of live with. I wouldn't mind that, and it would be a future which wouldn't need to generate an awful lot of wealth to stay. Because I think, to be honest, I think a lot of the creating wealth and generating wealth thing isn't really for people like me. It's for a different kind of person, really, or a different kind of society, or a different kind of strata in society that wants to retain certain privileges and access to power. And resistances to insecurity and those kind of things, which I'm not really part of. Anyway, I'm aware this sounds really naive. It is naive economics, but what the hell, out of the mouths of babes and innocence and know-nothing academics like myself. Actually, I'll just show you, I don't know if you can see this, but in the background of this image, usually I have this terribly impressive academic background, but I don't know if it is impressive. But the bookshelves behind me have usually got books on. I've never shown you what those books are, but the ones that usually appear in this shelf, so I can do this thing with my finger, the ones that usually appear here is actually a collection of Eric von Daniken's books and I don't know, strange books about alien invaders. I've got quite a large collection of books about UFOs and pseudoscience and that kind of stuff, so that's what's usually in these. But I've taken them down because my place of employment is moving, so I'm just going to move the camera around. So look, all my stuff's packed up, look. Or it's in the process of being packed. That you're looking at there is a tattoo kit, meditation bench, all sorts of bullshit. Some bits of wood up there that I've used to carry video cameras around on. Some video game consoles at the top there, Nintendo 64, and the great big Spectrum, and I can't remember the top one, it's PS2 I think. And some of my push bike there, which I thought I'd be riding every day, but I've already ridden since I brought it down. So all that crap really. And that's, you can't see the outside, but it's too bright a day. Anyway, that's me, and that's my office, and this is the last day in my office actually, I think. So it's goodbye and good luck from here. Anyhow, that's nothing to do with what I was talking about, is it really? Thank you.